Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. And my name is Gary Fowler, and welcome to Simplenight Presents. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've been involved in 17 startups and several unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, also Eva.ai. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. And with that, I have my incredible guest today, Keven Gayle. He's got the widest background of anybody that I've ever seen. He's a pastor. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's an investor. He's a principal partner at ARC Advisory. He's an all-around good guy, and he loves to work out. So with that, I'd like to bring Keven on board. Hey, Keven, how you doing today?
Good afternoon, Gary, or good morning from where you are. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I appreciate it very much.
Now, I got a question for you. So, you went to Tyndale College, and you got your degree and master's in pastoral studies. But how do you go from that to being in logistics?
So it's a crazy story, and it went like this. After getting my master's in pastoral theology and working in the church for a little bit, I for some reason, my dad, my grandfather, they're always been in business, and I got the business knack. And my then father-in-law had a logistics company, and I just happened to be very good at talking to people and helping them to see the value in what we're doing. And so he brought me on as a salesperson. And within a couple of weeks or a couple of months of doing that, we got a huge contract from Del Monte. And that then started the impetus into the logistics role. It's not something that I knew how to do, but what I realized when opportunity comes is your opportunity to say yes. And I said yes to it. And that got me on the track into business and into the logistics role.
So now, were you still doing your pastoral work at the same time at a church or not?
I did it for combined for a little bit, but then as things kind of grew, then I moved to straight into the logistics world and grew that company pretty fast. And that's actually brought me to the U.S. Because Del Monte needed more carriers or more 3PLs, as they call them here in the U.S., to cover their U.S. operation. And that I saw the opportunity, and it brought me down to Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, that's great. And when you're going down through it, how was it working with your father-in-law? Is it difficult to work with family?
It's very difficult to work with family. That's why we split off, and I started my own company after a while. So it was very difficult to work with family at first, and then we moved away from that as quickly and as seamlessly as we could.
Wow, that's great. So you did that. You've gone down through, and you look at it. You've got a transportation director of sales, securities. How do you go from logistics to securities?
So after I sold the transportation logistics business in 2009, 2008, 2009, I wanted to, I was still entrepreneurial in nature. I wanted to get back into business, but most business, you have to have a significant capital to start up. And so I start looking at what business don't you need the capital to start up in? And then I recognize being in a financial advisor, you're being in business for yourself, but you don't need the capital. You just need to study. And so I was good with people and good with moving things around. And so if you recognize money management is being good with people and moving money around. so,
Interesting concept.
So I put those things together, and within the first couple of years of being in the securities world, I became president's counsel within about 2 years of doing that. Within about the third year, they asked me to become a partner. I said no for about a year and a half. And then my cousin, who was at Ernst & Young, said, why not? And I said, okay. And so I became a partner after about 4 years in that firm. And then in 4 years, I led the number one team within the Southeast, and then number two within the nation. And then decided, hey, I started seeing a trend that was happening in business. We call it right now the silver tsunami. And the trend was a lot of business owners were trying to sell their business, trying to get exit out of their business. but they did not put the proper system structures in place so that when they go to the private equity, the family offices, they get the right value for their business. And I saw that up and close to personal with clients that we were managing, and they always came back to me with, I'm selling my business for 5 million, and then they only got two, selling it for 10, and then only got three. And so I saw that, kept on seeing the end of that. So I kept trying to figure out what was the beginning of that. And so when we figure out what the beginning of that, that's when we started ARC Advisory to say, hey, let's help these business truly understand, unleash the value in their business and understand what makes up enterprise value. And that's why we made that switch.
So now you're dealing with all these companies. What are the three challenges that these companies face that are out there today? You talk about the tsunami, but what kind of problems do they face, and how can they solve those problems?
So the three major problems that I see that most businesses face right now is that they're undercapitalized, um, and they just don't know where to go get the capital. And most businesses die on the vine because they're undercapitalized, right? Second, they don't truly understand what I call the four intangibles: um, customer capital, human capital, social capital, and environmental capital. They don't understand those capital, and they don't understand that most business, they look at the top line and the bottom line, but what is in between is really what really makes enterprise value, and they don't understand that. And the third thing is that most businesses, they don't begin with the end in mind. So they don't think about, okay, I have a finite years to live. Even if I was Methuselah, I'm still going to be taken away at some point in time. So I need to be able to build the business so that it's not reliant on me. And so we talk about transitional strategy. So most businesses do not look at how do they transition. And if you don't build a business like that, then any investor, any venture capital, any family office or privately wealthy person, they're not going to come into the business to run it like you. What they're trying to build, and I try to get this picture in people's mind. What most people are looking for, they're looking for a money conversion machine. Your business is a money conversion machine. It's how it is a product that goes out there, get money, convert it into wealth. And the more efficient you can do that, right, the more valuable your business is. So if you take the emotions out of it and say, how does my business convert money, right? And does it convert it efficiently, effectively, and is it scalable? Then if you can do that, then you have a very valuable business. If you cannot, then you do not.
And so, what about now with all this generative AI? What's happening with these companies you're dealing with?
This is where most businesses are not taking a look at what's happening, and what we're recognizing. I told you about the silver tsunami, and what the silver tsunami. Why we keep on seeing in the every month they tell you, hey, this is how many jobs they created. This is how much. Why we're seeing that is because there's a mass exodus of people coming out of the jobs, right? But we don't have enough young people to backfill that. And that's going to happen over the next 30 years. We just don't have enough people to backfill that. We're not creating enough people to backfill that. And so what's going to happen is that AI is going to fill those areas. And they don't get tired. They don't go on strike. They don't need, they can work 24 hours. So if I build my business and they don't recognize that, hey, there is a change that's happening, just like most business went on the internet, just like most business, they had a telephone, just like most business had to get into banking. There's changes that are happening. And this is an inflection time in history. And this is a change that because of the demographic push, because of the need to the supply and demand need for employees, companies are going to have to start looking at how they bring regenerative AI in their business so that they can scale and grow, and then lower the costs and increase operation in their business. And if you don't recognize that, whether you're in banking, consulting, whether you're in customer service, whatever you're in, it's going to touch it because you're not going to have enough people to fill those jobs, and it's going to get more and more expensive to do that. by
And
what we're seeing.
how do you help them, Kevin? What do you do? What's the process like?
So the process has to first look like, most companies don't haven't written down. Most people, they hear generative AI and they think, I turn on this machine and it looks at all my process and then it goes, yeah, the computer start talking to me and it goes, and that's not what happened. So if I don't have processes, system structures in my business, then I don't have data to feed to the processing system, and I won't be able to get the value. So the first thing I need to be able to do is make sure that my business has process system structures in place. Once I have that in place, then I can then turn it over to the data scientists or like-minded people so that they can processize that to put that in a regenerative AI system so that they can get the value. So the reason why we're having a disconnect, and the companies who are doing that fast at scale is moving to that. The companies who are not, they will die on the vine. That's why and it's probably going to be more than that. But I'm a SERPA, meaning that a SEPA, meaning I'm a certified exit planner, and the Exit Planning
You're
Institute,
a surfer?
a SEPA, right?
I thought you
Certified.
said you're a surfer. I said, really? That's something new. I know
No,
you like the water, but this is a little something new.
no, SEPA, meaning certified exit planner.
Oh, I see.
And one of the things that the Exit Planning Institute show is that 70% of business owner 1 year after selling their business regret it, right? And only out of 100% of the business that are out there, only 30% of them will actually sell, right? And so what's happening with these businesses is, if they don't adapt using regenerative AI and start using these different processes that are in place, they'll go out of business. They'll simply go out of business.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. You either do or die. It's not a situation where you have an option anymore. And if you want to raise money, I can tell you, dealing with, some of the wealthiest people on the planet and the VC funds, it's hard for them to talk to you now. It's really difficult. Okay, what's your AI component? Tell me a little bit about it. What's your competitive advantage? Well, how are you going to compete? And then they bring up, how are you going to compete with X that already has done this and can scale a lot faster than you can? Well, how are you going to compete? Now that's what the problem is. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's changed a lot.
It is.
The valley's changed a lot too. I mean, it's there's an uptick. It's kind of like it was many years ago, back in the e-commerce days. It's kind of like that in terms of opening up again. So how does a company? So these companies have X's, but how do you convince them that they need to enhance their processes in order to make it saleable?
So one of the things that we do, we have something called a value acceleration report. Um, and what it does, it shows you the current state of the business, and it gives you a gap analysis and say, hey, if you fix these things, you're valued at 10 million right now. But if you fix these things, you could be valued at 30, 40 million, right? That's money that you're leaving on the table. And then it's going to be the owner's responsibility to say, do I want to continue leaving that money on the table, or do I want to increase my value, right? And what we've shown is that businesses that work with us for 1 year will increase their value over 400%, right? And it's quantifiable if they can see it. And as you're saying, that can even happen faster, because if they then employ some of the AI strategies that we know that's out there, then they really could increase the value of their business. And so what we simply say to clients is, listen, the the math is out there. We know there's a silver tsunami that's happening. We know that over $10 trillion of wealth is going to pass from one generation to the next. We know that 70% of the business that are put out will not sell. Those are hard facts, right? We know that AI is here and it's not going away, right? It's going to. So those are the facts. What do you want to do with those facts? Do you want to bury your head with that, or do you want to start making some real investment and real shift into your business so that you can attract all that's coming. And it's up to you. If you don't want to attract it, you and I know, Gary, look, you've dealt with 17 businesses. Sears was a robust business at one point in time, right? And so was Blockbuster.
Yeah, some people don't even know those names anymore. It's kind of funny.
Right.
Talk about Blockbuster, that was a thing at the day, but people used to say Blockbuster. Who's Blockbuster?
Exactly. Those were all businesses that were out there, but and we're seeing this. We're seeing it. Bed Bath and Beyond just went. Like, we're seeing it happen. Like people are going, well, why are these things in there? Because we're in an inflection point right now, and things are changing, and they're changing rapidly. Right.
No, I agree with you, and but people don't realize it. They want us to be status quo, and they don't want to really change. They want to stay the way it is, but it's not going to stay the way it is. And either you change or you're going to be, but there's going to be two groups of people: the people that have a whole lot of money. In fact, Sam Altman said a couple of weeks ago, the bet in Silicon Valley is that who's going to create the first $1 billion one-person company. And it could happen. And so you look at it, if you don't adapt and change and be flexible, you're going to die. I mean, the world's changing. Look where China is, right? And there's a realignment of power and economic power. And it's not that you can't succeed and grow, but you better look at innovation and technology to be able to stay ahead of the curve. So for those companies out there, if they want to reach a global market, you got to be able to adapt and hyper-personalize very, very quickly. So, you've gone down through this. What have been the biggest challenges for you as you're building your businesses up? So you went to logistics, to your father-in-law's company, came out of that. But what are the biggest hurdles that you face right now?
The biggest hurdles that I is the pace of change, right? And the pace of change is in being able to kind of sit back, take it in, and then kind of strategize and move forward. And that's why this year we would institute is that every quarter we're literally taking a 2-day or 3 days, just sitting back and just looking at it, and then make those realignment. Because what I recognize is that I can get into the trap of working in the business so much that I'm not working on the business, right? And not seeing what's happening. So we've now started adopting a lot of what we're saying. We start using AI to just do a lot of stuff. A lot of our marketing, we've switched because we recognize that's happening, which allows us, give us more time for us to look and see what is happening, and then what are the strategies that we can use to adopt those. So when you're in an advisory role, because you're pulling, and what we've also done, when we first started, we were taking on 15 businesses per year. We actually have scaled back down and said, we only need about 5 or 6. And so we just work with 5 or 6 per year. That's it. We go deep in those 5 or 6, and then we work with them. So those are strategies that we had to, because you can't save everybody, right? And we've now, even part of what we have as our ideal client is coachability. Because what would happen is that you want it more than the entrepreneur want it. You're trying to fight for them because you're seeing what's happening. And if they don't see it, fortunately, sometimes you just have to leave them behind. And the market will then make that correction. So
how often do you have to do that, Kevin, when you meet with somebody and they just, they want to do something, but they don't get it? How often? What's the percent of the companies that you have to leave behind because you
I would say, Gary, we leave probably about 15 to 25% of our clients behind, and that number may increase as time goes on, because what you and I know, when you do GSD Labs, you'll invite people because you can, hey, this is what is out there, this is what's happening. But if they don't see it, and especially because you've been so magnanimous with GSD Labs to say, hey, we're not going to charge you what we can. we're charging you so that you can get in, so you can get this information. And if you can't see the value within that, then you just have to.
Yeah, and that happens. It's interesting. They come out, and it's funny. Then they come back. So I've had them come out and then come back, and the companies that come in, I just counted. We have 153 companies now in GSD. and represented 59 countries. And you look at it, those people have a spark inside of them. The ones that we see that are going to take off have a spark and not afraid of things. They're willing to try. Even if they have one company that's got over 50 million in revenue, bootstrap, and they want to try. They want to try things. And for each of you out there, that's what it's all about. It's not about saying no. It's about saying yes. It's not about looking at the negative. It's looking at the positive. It's going out there and painting the pictures and visualizing, and all those things are important. And by the way, storytelling is really important, right? When you talk to those companies, 90%. I have one of my billionaire friends tell me, investor, 90% of building a company, a unicorn, is a storytelling. That's what it's about. It's about who you are as a human being. Do people like you or not? Do they want to deal with you? Do they trust you? Do they find you credible? Do they find you interesting, exciting, enchanting? All those kind of things. I remember I had Guy Kawasaki come over, and he did a presentation. We were on stage together, and I remember he was talking about it. It's like he was painting the pictures of The Secret. You know what I mean? It's like the book, The Secret, and that's what it's all about. Believe in it. If you believe in it, the glass half full, not half empty. You can do anything.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions that you said, how do you build a unicorn in a challenging time? And I think how you do that is truly understand your market, right? You really need to also have one of the first things that I have business do is a vision, mission, value exercise, right? And if you don't understand your vision, mission, value, you're going to always stray off the pathway, right? So how you build a unicorn, we know that there's a shift in time that's happening, and you have a clear vision, clear mandate, and you will execute that. And as you said, unicorns right now, they're happening more frequently because there's such a demand that's out there. We're in a turbulent market, and there's such a demand that's out there that you can build that unicorn very quickly in a turbulent time. But the key thing that I say is how do you build a unicorn is a team around you, right?
Yeah.
No one person have all knowledge, right? And so the quicker you can bring that team around you, I think Jim Collins says, get the right people on the bus first, and then once they're on the bus, believe me, that ride is so much smoother because you have all the right components in it. And that's what I love about GSD Lab, because that's what they do. They say, hey, come in, right? We're going to put you around like-minded people, right? You can then pull from those people, and then that will help you scale. That's how you get to a unicorn.
Yeah, no, I couldn't say it better myself. That's great. Keep talking to me. That's great. Yeah, but listen, I appreciate your time, Kevin. So, for those companies out there that are interested in your services, and for those companies that are out there, have gone through the situation, just like you said you did with your father-in-law, you don't expect it, but that's the way it really is, right? When you're building companies, sometimes there's a co-founder you don't like. Sometimes there's an investor you don't like. So, how do you get over those situations? How did you go through that, right? When you were in that turbulent time, what did you do mentally? What did you think about?
And you see, this is why I said to you first, vision, mission, values, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your vision is clear, right? I liken to vision and you've probably heard this story, is you're in a forest, you climb up on the highest tree, and you look at the peak that's out there, and that's the vision. You're heading to that peak. When you climb back down and start walking, right, you're going to have ravines, you're going to have rivers that are tough, there may be not a bridge that you're going to have to build, but you're heading to that peak, right? And so because you're heading to that peak, then you can manage all of these things that are happening. If you don't do it, then what's going to happen is that you will see that ravine or peak or river or bridge, you see it as an impossibility. So you stop and you die in the vine because you didn't have a clear vision. So how you get through that is that you have a clear vision. One of the reasons that we started ARC is our vision was really to be an aid, to come behind business owners. I knew how it felt as a business owner when I sold the business and I didn't get the right value for it. I didn't understand that I didn't have the right value for it. That was not something that I really knew. I just knew something I needed to get out. I wanted to get out of it, so I sold it at a discount, and then I left. Right. Later on, I looked back and went, but
Yeah, what I leave on the table, right?
yeah, exactly. But now, if I had a clear vision and I had that team around me, that wouldn't have happened. So our vision at ARC is to walk shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow with business owners to help them realize their dream. And so, because I recognize that that's what I'm trying to do to help them, we're very we're very careful who we let in, because now I'm walking beside you to try to get that dream to come through. So how you get through that? Clear vision, great team.
No, that's well said. So, Kevin, how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So we have a website. So you have Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, but you can just go to arcadvisoryco.com. That's arcadvisoryco.com, and we have our telephone numbers there. You can reach it at hello@arcadvisoryco.com. If you send an email to hello@arcadvisoryco.com, then you can get a hold of us, and we'll be more than willing to sit down with you, or you can look me up on LinkedIn, send me a message. We can then literally, and it is Keven Gayle at Arc Advisory, and you just look me up, send me a message. We are very quick to turn around and meet with you. Like I said, we don't accept everybody. We only have only 6 spots that we have, and we've already had 3 so far this year. We are interviewing for the next 3, and then we'll close it down for 2024.
That sounds great. Well, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. It's appreciated. And thanks to all my viewers one more time for joining Simplenight Presents. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy, and I will be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. Thanks, Kevin, for your time today, and thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.